Good evening, welcome to TDM Talk Show. October is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The annual global campaign aims to increase awareness of the disease. Today, Conrad Macau is hosting the Pink-inspired charity launch to raise funds for breast cancer awareness. Proceeds will be donated to the Hong Kong Cancer Fund. We are now joined by Sally Low, the founder of HKCF, to talk about breast cancer awareness and ways to help those who are currently facing the big C. Good evening, Sally. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, the Hong Kong Cancer Fund is Hong Kong's largest cancer support organization. It has been established in 1987.
Correct.
Wow, since like forever, with a vision that no one faces cancer alone. What was the inspiration behind it, and why did you set up this HKCF?
Well, it's rather a spooky story. My girlfriend she was only in her 30s. She had her third child, and she was diagnosed with stomach cancer and told she had 3 months to live. This was devastating, and I helped to nurse her. She lived for 7 months.
Oh.
And in that 7 months, I learnt a tremendous amount about not only the way that she was treated within the medical treatment, but also the psychosocial aspects of how people came out of the woodwork. I was amazed at the influence that certain alternative and complementary treatments inspired her and gave her positive hope. So when she died, I came and we took her to London, and in the end, and when she died, I came back, and I promise you, when I say spooky, I mean spooky. Within a week, I had a telephone call to say, you know, they knew that I had looked after my girlfriend, who was quite well known,
Right.
and would I help put together a support group? And so I said yes, and the same week I was asked by an international organization in Europe if I would help to put on a conference for cancer. And I remember coming out of then it was the Regent Hotel. I remember coming out and looking up at the sky and said, I hear you, Nikki, I'm on the job. So that's how it started. And then, you know, from the very humble beginnings, we've now expanded, and I worked out of a doctor's dining room. We had meetings at the Mariners Club. Today we have 14 centers. I have 21 support groups, 33,000 clients.
Wow.
And we have over 1,000 wellness people who want to be proactive in their healing. So we have over 1,000 a week in our wellness stream. So we've come a long way.
Definitely.
But I believe someone's pulling my strings.
Right, but at the time, cancer was a taboo.
Yes.
1987.
Oh, this was very difficult because starting a support group with both English and Chinese, I started a newsletter. It was only a couple of sheets, but I wasn't able even to send the word cancer. Was not allowed to be put on the outside of I couldn't use a logo. I mean, I had a little bit of trouble because I wanted to bring cancer out of the woodwork. It was a word that wasn't used. And, you know, I was advised you must call it the Orchid Club.
Right, the Orchid Club.
Something. And I said, no, you know, we must stand up and be who we are and present cancer. So we started the Hong Kong Cancer Fund.
And it started in a small basement.
Yes. I mean, in Happy Valley, we were, you know, it was a doctor's dining room. And I remember I had 2 other volunteers with me. But we were able to establish quite a lot because I realized with Nikki, there was a lack of information and support. There was no information whatsoever. And so we started very quickly we had no funds, but I found the funds, and we put together a booklet, I mean, quite comprehensive. And I must say that I'm very grateful to a very well-known bank in Hong Kong which I mustn't advertise, but
Right. Go ahead.
But it's Hong Kong
fine.
Bank. They were very generous. They paid for all the publications. Today, we have 36 publications.
Right.
And they go, of course, they go online, but at one stage, we were going on hard copy to 22 countries.
Wow.
So that was a very important step, because it was actually something that we could do, and we still do today. They're available in the libraries, in clinics, and all the public hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
So, people have something to go home with, and they have references to their diagnosis.
And you have volunteer doctors as well at the time. You have friends that are doctors at the time.
Oh, yes, I couldn't have done it without all the volunteers, who now play a very important part. Well, this is very interesting. When I'm asked what really propelled you forward, I realized that, we needed to be face-to-face. We needed to have some sort of center after having the booklets. And one day, a doctor said to me, what would you do if I said I had a space in our hospital, which at that time was the Prince of Wales Hospital? So I said immediately, not even thinking. So you see, someone is pulling my strings.
Right.
I said I'd start a Cancer Patients Resource Center. Well, it's funnily enough, they said yes, and we were all ready to go ahead, but the building wasn't finished. And Queen Mary Hospital heard about this and said, we want a Cancer Patients Resource Center. So I started the first one in Queen Mary. And
That's
now
nice.
every public hospital has, they have a Cancer Patients Resource Center. And if you can imagine, first of all, you have to go through the diagnosis. Secondly, you have to understand the treatment phase. And thirdly, you have to understand what the doctor's saying to you. It's all a lot to take on.
A lot to take in.
Yeah.
So
and
really
so
the support.
the Cancer Patients Resource Centers act as really an information center where they can go and say, these are the options I've been given. We don't give actually medical advice, but we do explain the options that they have. And some of the terminology and some of the drugs.
Right. We need to put it on layman's term, like at least
Absolutely.
to explain it to
And
people.
people are in shock, and that causes a certain amount of deafness. You don't always hear what the doctor's saying.
And Sally, breast cancer is by far the most common cancer in women worldwide. We're talking about worldwide, both in developed and developing countries. According to Hong Kong Breast Cancer Foundation, 1 out of every 15 women in Hong Kong will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their
Yes.
lifetime. How does HKCF support those who are fighting this battle? Where do you start? Where do we go from here, for example?
Well, it's very, very important. In fact, I'll share with you, we have 33,000 clients. That's within our 14 centers, because we also have centers in the community. Of those, we have 7 of the 21 support groups we have, 7 of them are breast cancer. Now, 60% of our clients are breast cancer clients. And so, I would say that they are the majority of our client base. And, we have special programs for them.
Right.
We provide free prostheses, we provide free wigs, we have a look good, feel good program. In fact, the majority of our work is done with breast cancer survivors.
Right.
And, we don't only look after the individuals who are experiencing cancer, we also look after the families.
Oh, that's right, which is like
Which
the
is-
most important thing, because it's the support that they definitely
Yes.
need. Okay, a common misconception about cancer is that only girls can carry cancer, not men, especially Chinese people and also the older generation. Apparently, they don't like sharing stories as it is associated with bad luck and shame.
Yes.
Is it true?
Well, one of the first things that I realized when I started, right, 32 years ago, I realized that mother-in-laws were, horrified when a daughter-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer, and they were very aggressive. And so a lot of what our counseling was to do with family issues, which was heartbreaking when they were, really fighting a diagnosis like cancer and possibly having to have surgery. So yes, I can fill a book on the sad cases that we face. Today, people are much better informed, and breast cancer today is, with modern medicine, it is containable and it is controllable in most cases.
Right.
Yes, I think that there was a tremendous amount of taboo, as we said earlier, about cancer as a whole. But now women are empowered, and I hope that's partly to do with wonderful companies like Conrad, who help to bring breast cancer to the fore and make it something that is we can talk about.
Right.
The other group that I will mention that I had a terrible problem with was prostate cancer, because you're absolutely right. The problem is that a lot of people do not. In Chinese families, it's taboo to talk about it, and that runs through the family in terms of grandchildren or children where they're sent. Mummy's crying, but they don't know. They're not included. So one of the areas that we work in is to include the family, and we have the UCAN group, which is young adults who have cancer, because today we don't know why, but I like to think it's because people are breast checking and are screening early, and realize that it's not just women in their 50s and 60s, but it's women. I think the youngest client I have is 18.
Whoa.
But you asked me about men. Now, the interesting thing, and not a lot of people know this, but men can also carry what is called the Braga gene, which, so the men can actually pass breast cancer genetically. Now, genetically, basically, it's only 10% of cancers that are caused through genetic. And I'm afraid we don't know why the other 90%. Why it's a question mark whether it's lifestyle or whether people are just, whether it's stress.
Yes, the environment.
The environment, we still don't know.
Sally, you are regarded as a legend already for your outstanding efforts in Hong Kong in raising cancer awareness and helping those who are battling the big C. However, a few years ago, you already said that your husband and house helper were diagnosed with cancer. How did you and your family deal with this?
Firstly, I would say, yes, it's a shock. But firstly, I would say that because I'd been 28 years at that time in the business, I possibly wasn't quite, I was familiar with cancer. The shocking thing was that I live with my right hand, my darling husband of 50 years, and my housekeeper of 45 years. And they were diagnosed in the same week, one on a Sunday and one on a Monday.
In the same week?
In the same week, the day after each other. So, it was quite a shock to find myself on the other side of the fence, being the caregiver. But, nature is incredible. I became a hunter and a gatherer because at that time there wasn't a lot of organic food, and I thought I've got to do something to keep their strength up, and so that was one of my mechanisms of coping. The other was when you are actually going through treatment, it's sort of like getting on a fast train. You buy a ticket, you are on the train.
Yes.
Once you've chosen your...
You're on a ride.
Yeah, once you've chosen your course of treatment, which is an issue, but once you've chosen it, you basically are on a train to your destination. But when you finish treatment, that is when it becomes what next. I'm glad to say that, you know, the Cancer Fund's more than what next, but we step in, not at that stage, but we very often, our clients are very, very focused on their the clinical side of their treatment, and of course it takes it, and they have side effects, which is fatigue, insomnia, and so, you know, they don't come that often to seek our help. The families do, the parents and or husbands and wives, but you know, for me, it's the what next that is really crucial. It's going out into the community. It's getting, gaining confidence, empowering. You know, we want to empower our clients to get back and to be well. And so we have a wellness program, and you'd be really surprised. Young people today, and our clients are getting much younger, really want to be proactive in their healing. And you know, we have over 1,000 people a week in our wellness stream.
Wow.
Which means they, you know, will do yoga, chanting, they might do meditation.
Right. And volunteers are welcome, very much welcome.
Volunteers are welcome. I would say that, you know, majority of the volunteers we have are cancer survivors or professionals.
To pay it forward.
Well, they do it for free, but and most of the actually wellness, we have 72 therapists, and most of them, that's a lot, and 19 venues, but most of them are volunteers.
And speaking of which, the organization's services are free and receives no money from the government or the local charity community chest. What can you say about the sponsors supporting the organization? And Macau has been actively reaching out as well through Conrad Macau. Any thoughts for the sponsors?
If I only had more people like Conrad Macau, you know, who have been so generous and so supportive, not only in raising funds, but also messaging. You arrive at the hotel, they're all wearing their pink, you know, their pink ribbon. Unfortunately, I would say that in the last few years, we do not have that many corporates who are, you know, as generous. We need to raise 100 million, a year, Hong Kong. But the amazing thing is that 60% of that comes from the man in the street, who is a monthly donor. So you don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to have a lot of money. If you can afford $100 a month, this is 60% of our income, which is huge.
Wow.
But there are, you know, I think a lot of people think because we're the Hong Kong Cancer Fund, we have government money. We don't. And I think that, and we're not part of the community chest. If we were, we couldn't have expanded the way we have. And we're really grateful. And I'm very, very grateful to corporates like the Conrad, who in Macau, who have been encouraging women. And today, I think there's more women than usual here. And I'm very grateful for that.
And your message to those who are facing the big C and they don't want to tell anyone about it, or they are still struggling to share it with their families?
Call us. You don't have to. You call us. You can be anonymous and speak to our call center. We have professionals there that are ready to give help. We have a bevy of from clinical psychologists to nurses to social workers who would love to have a private chat. We are problem solvers. Actually, I always think we're the plaster on the bleeding. You know, there's nothing that we won't do to help solve individual problems. We have a hardship fund and many ways in helping families and the children to overcome cancer.
Thank you so much, Sally, and wish you good luck and all the best for the foundation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us again next week for the next episode of TDM Talk Show. Good night.